Chapter 3. Nick and Ava. Estimates suggest that the average person will meet upwards of 50,000 people in their lifetime. Of the thousands of people I've met in my life, I've never met anyone like Nick Armstrong. Despite what some people may consider his verbal, physical, and emotional abuse of me, Nick was like a god to me. He was only 16 years older than me, but in a strange way, he was kind of like a father. I met Nick through a girl named Ava Omena. How I came to meet Ava was luck. Come to think of it, maybe actions just have consequences. I told you guys that every now and then, I'd get out of the house and I'd go for walks and sometimes work up the courage to interact with somebody. Well, one day, that someone was Ava. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was on my lunch break, and the weather didn't look so great. Despite the threatening weather, I chose to go for a walk in Willow Creek Park. I loved walking in Willow Creek Park. It's always alive, bustling with the sounds of children laughing, dogs barking, and people chatting. About halfway through my normal walking route, there's this rustic gazebo. It overlooked a small pond that had lily pads and small fish running through it. There was this spot right around back that I always liked. That was just a beautiful spot to watch. It was my happy place. Because of the overcast weather, the park on this day, it was much quieter than usual. Going about my normal walking routine, hands in my pocket, I was about a mile away from the gazebo when a downpour began. This wasn't your typical rain. It was pelting down so hard that it almost hurt when it hit you. Instinctually, I ripped my hands out of my pockets and darted for the shelter of the gazebo. As I ducked inside and sat down, the rain continued to tumble down. I just sat and waited it out, my mind wandering aimlessly. Suddenly, though, my aimless thoughts were interrupted by the sounds of girls laughing. I looked outside, and I was astonished at what I saw. Here I was sheltered in the gazebo, and yet, outside in the pouring rain, were three girls, smiling, laughing, and dancing together with childlike joy. After a few minutes of their dancing, they too headed for the gazebo for shelter. As they approached, I was immediately hit with butterflies. I wasn't around girls that often, not to mention three. As they entered, I immediately noticed they were all beautiful, but they looked different. Something about them was just off. I couldn't stare like a creep, so after a few stealthy glances, I realized what it was. They weren't wearing any makeup. No lipstick, no cover-up, no eyeliner, literally nothing. Moreover, they weren't wearing your typical clothes. They looked good, but thrifty. As I went for another glance, one of the girls caught me, and we made eye contact. Shit. I immediately looked down. Then, something unusual happened. "Hello," she said to me. Now, this wasn't just a normal form of acknowledgement hello. This girl said hello to me with a genuine invitation and intent to converse, with a glowing smile like she had known me for her whole life. I was so caught off guard by this that I couldn't even manage words. I just smiled and nodded my head at her. As the girls continued to chat, I put my elbows on my knees and stared at the ground. My mind quickly defaulted to thinking about what I should do to try and look cool. I decided I would reach for my phone. I could pretend like I had a bunch of texts, even though I know I didn't. Maybe they'd think I'm cool or important. As I patted down my legs, not remembering which pocket my phone was in, I noticed something. My phone was there, but my wallet, that also should have been in my pocket, it was missing. I stood up and triple patted myself all over, confirming that it was indeed not on me. "Shit," I blurted out. completely forgetting for a second that the three girls were still in the gazebo with me. "Oh, sorry," I said. "What's wrong?" said the same girl who cheerfully said hello to me a few minutes earlier. "Oh, nothing. I can't find my wallet." Suddenly it dawned on me that when the rain started, I did rip my hands out of my pockets before running to the gazebo. Surely when I ripped my hands out, the wallet probably came with it. It was probably just lying on the path somewhere. "It's okay. I think I know where it is. I'm just going to head outside and just take a look," I said. "Can I go with you? I'll help you look," the girl said to me, beaming innocently. Yeah, sure, but it's raining outside," I said. "Where I come from, we celebrate the rain," she said poetically. "Well, if you don't mind, then sure." I was flabbergasted. In just minutes, this girl had managed to break virtually every social norm I was accustomed to. Every girl I knew caked on makeup, at least tried to wear expensive clothes, and wouldn't even give anyone the time of day, let alone a stranger. Yet here was this beautiful girl with no makeup, wearing modest clothing, and saying an overjoyous hello, then wanting to leave her friends to go with a complete stranger? In today's fucked up world, who the heck could be so careless and blindly trusting? As we exited the gazebo together, the rain was still coming down, but it wasn't as strong. Now, outside the shadowy gazebo, I could see her even more clearly. Wow. She was beautiful. Her eyes were crystal blue, and they held a warmth that, despite my butterflies, they made me feel a little bit at ease. The way that she looked at me and smiled, I could just sense that her intentions were pure. She had a disarming presence about her. "I'm Chris," I said, trying to sound normal and hide the remaining butterflies. "Ava," she said. "It's nice to meet you, Chris." I liked the fact that she repeated my name back to me. As we started walking together, my mind raced to quickly think of something to say. "So, Ava, you said that where you come from, you celebrate the rain? Whereabouts are you from?" I inquired. "Oh," she said, almost unsure of herself. "Well, you see, I'm not from the big city. I live in a community, and we call ourselves the Freedomites." "Freedomites," I repeated back to her. "I've never heard of Freedomites." "Well, there's only about 600 of us in our community right now, and we live in a really small place that's not really close to anybody." "Oh," I said, trying to mask the fact that this was extremely unconventional. Her blind trust kinda made sense now. I imagine if you're from a small town where everybody is friendly, you're probably more likely to trust a stranger. Alas, we arrived to the spot where I thought my wallet could be. My eyes darted around, scanning the area. It wasn't there. Fuck. There was $180 cash in my wallet, plus my debit card, credit card, driver's license, health card, coupons, and a gift card to the beer store with $18 still on it. "This is where I thought it would be, but I'm not seeing it here, Ava," I said with dismay. "Well, it's only money," she replied carefree. "It's just paper. Come on, let's keep looking," she said with optimism. As we continued walking, I continued my line of questioning. "So, where is Freedomite?" No. Our space is not called Freedomites. We call ourselves Freedomites." "But, what's the name of the town or village that you live in?" I asked. "I'm not really sure," said Ava. "The land we live on, it doesn't have a name. I just know that we're the Freedomites. If you have a map, I could show you where we live." "A map?" I said, questioningly. "Can you just show me on your phone, like Google Maps or something?" Google Maps? She said, perplexed. Do you have a phone? I said, completely bewildered that I was asking a beautiful young girl whether or not she had a cell phone. Oh, yes, I do, she said. Me and my friends were sharing one right now, but I'm honestly not entirely sure how to use it. See, where I'm from, only our warden handles the technology. Okay, now the shock factor was astronomical. This beautiful young girl in her 20s doesn't know how to use a cell phone, not to mention is sharing it amongst two friends. And plus, what the heck is a warden? Like a prison warden? I opened up my phone to Google Maps and zoomed out so virtually the whole state was showing. Here, check this out. Can you show me where you live? I asked. She looked at the screen in amazement, her eyes scanning. We live somewhere right around here. Her finger pointed on the outskirts of the national forest. There was no little dot on the map with the name of a city, town, or village. It just looked like wilderness. As Ava pointed it out, I caught a glance at the time. I still had so many questions for her, but I had to get back to work. Ava, I'm going to walk you back to your friends, to the gazebo now. I'm sorry, but I got to get back to work. As we started off back towards the gazebo, I tried to wrap my head around the situation. Despite the many odd things about Ava, her unguarded aura, her simple joy, her dancing in the rain, was honestly nothing I'd ever seen before. She was odd, but I was at the very least interested in her. I had to make a move. Ava, you think I could grab your number? I'd love to see you again and talk some more. Yeah, of course, Chris, she said, beaming. I'm sorry, I'm still new to the whole cell phone thing, so maybe you could put your number into my phone? She asked. I grabbed her phone, went to the contacts, and put my number in. But while I was there, I noticed something odd. She had only one contact in her phone. Nick Armstrong. And one more thing, Chris. Again, I'm not entirely sure how this all works, but my warden is insistent that I can only speak on this application. It's called Signal. You must have this for us to talk. Okay, sure, I said, putting my number in Ava's phone. After handing her her phone back, I shook her small hand gently and sped walked back to my place. I was going to be late for a client meeting. As I power walked back, I glanced everywhere for my wallet again, but I never found it. Who knew losing money would turn into this interesting situation? By the time I got back home, I was indeed late for work. I logged on to my meeting to find that the client was not there. They either logged into the chat, waited for a bit, and left, or they never showed up at all. I was hoping it was the latter. For the rest of the day, all I could think about was my strange encounter with the strange but captivating Ava. I wanted to text her, but I put my number into her phone, and she never messaged me yet. Then I remembered I had to download the Signal app. Signal was this end-to-end encryption app for communication. Why on earth would a small-town girl need this layer of secrecy? Finally, after work, a Signal notification popped up on my phone. It was Ava. Her message was written very straightforward, with no emojis. It reminded me of when my grandmother would send me a text. It read as follows. Hey, Chris. I really enjoyed meeting you today. Can we meet again tomorrow? Hey, Ava. Yes, absolutely. Same time and place? I typed back. 3 minutes later, she responded. Yes. Again with no emojis. Great. I replied with a bold exclamation mark. Getting a clear sense that Ava was not a texter, I decided I would just leave it at that and wait for our meeting tomorrow. This wasn't a meeting, though. It was a date. I hadn't been on a proper date in years. My plan was to put my dating life on pause until I had the condo secured. Thinking about my previous dating history, anxiety and doubt started to set back in. I thought about making an excuse to say that I can't go. Surely that would get rid of the butterflies. But even though I hated the feeling of butterflies, it was the first time in a long time that I at least felt something. I'm going, no matter what.